Alex Eala lands in Washington like a queen for the DC Open. And to understand what that sentence actually means, you have to start with the city itself. Washington, D.C. holds the embassies of 177 countries. It is a place engineered block by block to receive people who represent somewhere else. Ambassadors land here. Delegations land here. And this week, so did a 21-year-old left-handed tennis player from Manila who walks into the Mubadala City DC Open, ranked 29th in the world. 29, that is the number to hold in your head for the next 17 minutes because it changes what her arrival means. She is not landing in Washington as a curiosity. She is not landing as a wild card hoping to sneak around. According to the WTA's current rankings, Alex Eala is the 11th highest-ranked player in the singles field of a WTA 500 event that begins on July 27th. Footage of her arrival is circulating across Philippine sports channels, and the reception by every account has been loud, but the sound is only the surface. What you are actually hearing is the sound of a country recognizing that one of its own has walked into a room she was not invited to as a courtesy. That room this week is one of the deepest fields the WTA 500 tier has assembled all summer. The Mubadala DC Open runs July 27th through August 2nd at the William H.G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center with a total prize commitment per WTA figures of $1,637,000 and a champion share of $250,000. The singles draw is 28 players. The draw ceremony is scheduled for Friday, July 24th. And within that draw, the WTA confirmed on July 18th that Eala will be entered not only in singles, but in doubles as well, where she reunites with a name that on paper should not fit in the same sentence as hers. Venus Williams, 46 years old, 14 Grand Slam doubles titles, 22 doubles crowns overall, choosing for the second tournament in a row to walk onto a court with a 21-year-old from the Philippines. Partnership is where the tension of this week actually begins, because it forces a question the numbers alone cannot answer. What is Alex Eala doing inside this room? Consider the company Jessica Pegel, a world number 3 top seed wildcard entrant, a 2-time DC Open champion who lifted this trophy in 2019 and again in 2021. Alina Svitolina, world number 10, seeded second. Naomi Osaka, world number 13, seeded third, a 4-time Grand Slam champion in her own right. Jasmine Paolini, world number 15, seeded fourth. And we'll come back to that name because it matters more than any other in this draw. Diana Schneider, Anna Kalinskaya, Madison Keys, Leylah Fernandez, the defending champion who took last year's title unseeded with a 6,162 dismantling of Kalinskaya. Add Zheng Qinwen on a wild card. Add Venus Williams on another. This is not a WTA 500 filler week. This is in the phrase of one tournament preview. 6 top 20 players in a single 28-player draw. The density is closer to a Grand Slam second week than to a hardcore warm-up. And the honest tension in Eala's arrival is not that she doesn't belong. It is that she is walking into that density, having played 0 competitive matches in the last 3 weeks, a scheduled reset after her Wimbledon run, and having transitioned from grass, where she made a final in Eastbourne and reached the second week of a major, to a hard court in high summer humidity, where the ball behaves differently. The recovery windows are shorter, and the players she'll meet arrive from their own preparation blocks. The case for her is her form. The case for caution is her rest. Both are real. So let's talk about the stage first, because the stage is the thing that has changed. Alex Eala's ranking of 29 is not a spike. She first reached the number 29 spot on March 16th of this year according to ABS-CBN and the Rafa Nadal Academy's own confirmation. That was 4 months ago, which means she has now spent an entire third of 2026 inside the world's top 30. She has residence there. And the residence has an address this week, a $252,000 champions check, a stadium in a capital city, and a draw that gives her ranking points equivalent to a strong slam quarterfinal if she can find her way to the final weekend. This is not a stage she has been given. It is a stage her results have built one match at a time across a season in which she has already accumulated a 30-18 match record and $1,285,000 in prize money per the WTA's official player page. And look who else RSVP'd to that stage, because the second cluster of what makes this week matter is not about opponents. It is about a partner. When the WTA announced on July 18th that Venus Williams and Alex Eala would team up again in the DC Open doubles draw, the sentence read on the surface like a scheduling note. It is not a scheduling note. Venus Williams is 46 years old. Alex Eala is 21. That is a 25-year age gap on the same side of the net in a sport that ages players and dogars. The two of them share a court that spans two full generations of women's tennis. Their first pairing came last month at Bad Hamburg on grass, where they reached the quarterfinals before losing to Teresa Mihalikova and Olivia Nichols 63-62. Venus could have picked anyone for the reunion. She picked the 21-year-old lefty from Manila. Again, take a breath here, because what happens next in the story of Alex Eala's Washington arrival is not something you can rush into. The reason Venus Williams keeps picking up the phone. The reason WTA officials nominated Eala for Star of the Swing on the grass season. The reason a crowd in a Philippine airport gathered on July 19th to send her off. And a crowd in a North American arrivals hall gathered on the other end to receive her. All of it. Every camera flash, every hand-painted sign, every whispered word from a coach to a scout in the players' lounge traces back to a single Saturday afternoon this month. July 4th, 2026, Center Court, Wimbledon third round, Alex Eala, seated 29 across the net from the defending champion of the tournament, Giganti, who at that moment held the world number 3 ranking. What happened over the next 2 hours was, per the Athletic and Wimbledon's own official summary, one of the moments that defined the entire championships. Eala won the first set in a tie-break 11-9, saving what commentators later noted was one of the tightest breakers of the tournament. Then she broke Schwek's tie to grass, breaking her serve, breaking her rhythm, breaking finally her defense of the title with a second set of 62, 76,662 on center court against the defending champion. That is the credential Alex walks into every arrival hall carrying now. When she stepped through the doors in Washington this week, she was not walking in as the Filipina who might someday belong at this level. She was walking in as the woman who took center court from a defending champion 19 days ago. That is what changes the meaning of a crowd's reaction. That is what turns applause into recognition. 2 rounds after that one came the reminder that the story is not finished. In the round of 16 on July 6th, per ESPN's tournament tracker, Eala lost to Jasmine Paolini in 3 sets 4-6, 6-4, 3-6 at IT was, and this matters, the deepest Grand Slam run of her career and her first appearance in the second week of a major. And Paolini, the woman who beat her, is now seated 4th in the very DC Open draw, is preparing for. The story did not end at Wimbledon. It followed her to Washington. It is sitting somewhere in the same players' hotel this week. The tennis establishment has noticed all of it. The WTA formally recognized Eala's grass court run by naming her a Star of the Swing nominee, an institutional acknowledgement that this player this season on this surface deserved a place among the tour's defining performers. Wimbledon's own official recap of the championships listed her Swiatek win among the tournament's defining moments. Not one of the surprises, one of the defining moments. And Eala herself, standing in front of the Wimbledon press 2 days after the Paolini loss, said something that has stayed with the tennis media in a way most exit interviews do not. Per ABS-CBN and Ent France Press's reporting from July 7th, everyone has days where they don't play their best. I don't expect to be playing the best tennis of my life every single day. That is not the sentence of a player rattled by a 4th-round loss. That is the sentence of a player who has recalibrated her own ceiling. And earlier in the same tournament, in the press conference after her second-round win, she said the line that Filipino fans have been quoting to each other for the last 3 weeks. It will be the honor of my life to inspire others. The line is on Wimbledon's own official YouTube channel. It is not paraphrased. It is not embellished. It is what she said. Fans in Manila have been trading it back and forth online ever since. And according to accounts from Philippine sports channels, chanting it in variations at her airport farewell, the The cultural weight of a sentence like that lands differently when you know where she is landing. Washington, D.C., and its surrounding metropolitan area is home to one of the largest Filipino-American communities on the U.S. East Coast. The Philippine Embassy sits within the same city she is playing in this week. And in the singles draw at the William H.G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center, Alex Eala is the only player from Southeast Asia. That is not a small statistic. That is a region of nearly 700 million people and a single player carrying its flag through the North American hardcourt swing that leads directly into the U.S. Open. There is a reason her arrival footage travels the way it does. It is not manufactured hype. It is a diaspora watching one of its own take a chair at a table that for a long time did not have a chair with her country's name on it. The DC Open sits at the front door of the U.S. Summer Swing. Everything from here to the Canadian Open in Montreal in early August, Cincinnati in mid-August. U.S. Open at the end of the month builds toward one final destination in New York. And Eala arrives in Washington as the on-ramp, not the exit. Her draw this week will shape her seeding conversation for the U.S. Open. Her match play this week will determine whether she arrives in Flushing Meadows in rhythm or rust. Every ball she strikes in D.C. is a ball that echoes forward. And still the honest posture toward this week is not celebration. It is caution folded inside conviction. Alex Eala has not played a competitive match since July 6th. She lost that match. She lost it to a player who is in her current draw. She is coming off a 3-week rest that, however necessary, is still a 3-week rest. Grass-court form does not automatically translate to hard-court results. The surfaces reward different footwork, different serve patterns, different court positioning. There is no version of this preview that pretends the DC Open will be easy for her. What her own post-WW Wimbledon words suggest, though, is that she has already made peace with the shape of a season that includes both center court against a 3-set loss 2 rounds later. Everyone has days where they don't play their best tennis. That sentence held next to her ranking of 29. And her star of the swing nomination is not resignation. It is architecture. So here's the room she is in. Now read it as a roll call because the roll call is the point. Jessica Pegula, world number 3, twice a champion at this event. Elena Svitolina, world number 10. Naomi Osaka, 4-time Grand Slam champion. Yasmin Paolini, Wimbledon, 4th round conqueror. Diana Schneider, Anna Kalinskaya, Madison Keys, Leylah Fernandez, the defending champion. Venus Williams on a wild card with 14 Grand Slam doubles titles to her name and twice now choosing a 21-year-old Filipina as her partner, Jang Chinwen, and seated on merit at world number 29, Alexandra Ayala. The City of Embassies has one more this week, and her chair has a name plate. Not because a federation lobbied for it. Not because a wild card was granted as a favor. Because a lefty from Manila spent this season winning matches that placed her mathematically in this exact room. The draw ceremony is Friday, July 24th. First round play begins Monday. Somewhere in that bracket, a line will be drawn between her name and someone else's. And the story of her Washington week will start being written. Whether she wins 1 match here or 5, the meaning of her arrival does not change. It will be the honor of her life to inspire others. Those were her words on the world's oldest tennis court 3 weeks ago. This week, in the capital of a country whose second largest Asian population is Filipino, that sentence has an address. If you want to see how the draw falls when it comes out Friday and how her first match unfolds, this channel will be covering every step of the DC Open swing and everything that follows into Montreal, Cincinnati, and New York. Subscribe and stay with us. The room she is in now is one she earned her way into. What happens inside it starts on